It's another historic weekend of Formula One here at Zandvoort. The track has seen many unforgettable moments, like Gilles Villeneuve's three-wheeled lap at the 1979 Dutch Grand Prix, which cost him victory. What excitement lies ahead this year?
Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 114. I'm into my final recording day for F1 Manager 2022. I'm going to squeeze out all three of the final episodes and the rest of this season in this recording day today. So for me, anyway, this is it. For you, we've got a few episodes left to go. And this first one, Zandvoort, is going to involve some heavy rain on race day, which could make things quite interesting. If you remember, Jack Doohan was crushing it in the last race comfortably at the front of the field with just a handful of laps to go. Lapping a car, they broke too late, locked up, went into the back of Doohan, wiped him out into the wall, not only taking the race victory away from him, but destroying everything. The engine, the ERS, the gearbox as well.
We're looking at a rainy day, but the drivers, as always, will be undeterred. Looking at the Williams now. They're in P1. Let's see if they can take advantage of that position. And looking at the second Williams car. Not as close to the front as they might have wished for, but we know the race order can change a lot during those first few corners. Will their hard work pay off today? The drivers are ready and the crowds are waiting. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Expecting an absolute wet and wild Dutch Grand Prix here. It's Prix, not Doohan, who has taken a penalty on today, as Doohan has so quickly pulled away right off the line, away from the other drivers, and can calm down quite quickly. But Prix started from P6 after qualifying first. Reason being, Doohan had just taken penalties. And because he had just taken penalties, he was already in a situation that meant he had new components still available and didn't have to take any penalties today. So instead, Prix, who was running quite low in his components, had to take on a new gearbox. So he'd have two to run with here for the remainder of the season. Prix right now caught up in traffic, though. He's got Russell side by side and then Piastri holding him up in front. He keeps trying to make a move on Piastri, but can't seem to get underneath, and finally does here, and that's going to set him up for that one. But Russell is still side by side, so they both just went by Piastri, and Russell ends up getting the inside on that one. So it's up a position, down a position, but we're going to get to the inside of Russell here and have a move on him. Huge gaps already. We're already talking about a few seconds between Doohan and Verstappen. Norris is 5.5 seconds behind. Now, today, the wet and wild part,
And a new position.
3, maybe 4 stops along the way. We might go straight from wets to mediums to finish the race, or we may go more along the lines of using the intermediates and staying within what was necessary at the time, dependent on track conditions. So we are going to have some heavy rain here at the start. We're going to have some heavy rain for quite a while, and then we expect, as we've quickly pulled away from Russell, by the way, he's already over 2 seconds behind us, and we're now closing back up on Verstappen, Doohan slowly pulling away from him, but grid's definitely opening up. Let's speed things up for the time being, especially as we try to make up ground, and we can't push like this for too long, so we're going to back off here, and we're going to back off here. Multiple cars have crashed. We have crashed in Sector 2. It's at the back end of the grid already. Sainz has picked up a penalty, and he's collided with an Aston Martin. The Aston Martin just now getting going. We'll go take a look at what's happened with this crash. Battling for position here. McLaren's to the inside, just loses the rear end on the exit. That's definitely on the gas. He gets going right away. He just clips him, but not sure why the Aston Martin's having such a hard time getting rolling
And the
again.
team had
How
such high hopes
he's
today.
sliding
What a shame.
slowly to the side. By the way, animations for crash animations for F1 Manager 23. Because of the circumstances that we are facing in terms of the variable weather, I'm pushing with the tires, which does put us a little bit at risk. I want us to pull away from the others.
It's a stonking lap.
Porsche ends up 8 seconds behind his teammate, by the way.
You're doing very good. Lap time
They
are
both
good.
set
Lap
new
time are
laps.
good.
And that's because we're at 3.84. Is it Verstappen and Leclerc pitting? Half seconds. Porsche 2.498. Both coming back out. Doohan is still at the head of the field, and Porsche likewise. Surprised that we didn't lose the lead there. We'd lost a couple seconds anyway. 8 seconds ahead of Verstappen though. Guess we'd pulled away a decent distance before the changing conditions. And we lost a couple seconds, maybe across 1 or 2 laps is all. Pits. Porsche pits, both 2.5. Their gap to each other will still stay the same. Verstappen's going to close us down yet again. But this will now get us by until we do reach dry conditions and the track grip starts to improve. But once again, Verstappen just 4 seconds behind Porsche. Porsche, pit time was slower, and yet he's actually closed that gap a little bit. His entry and exit from pits went by a little bit quicker than what Doohan managed, and he's now inside 7 seconds. He's gained all of 1 second on his teammate over the last 23 laps and multiple pit stops. It's very gradual. Catching Doohan's going to And we are getting restarted from the safety car here on lap 39. Track continuing to dry out. The rain is going to stop here fairly soon, but it's a while before we get to dry conditions, so we stay on the intermediates. All those lap cars are now back on the lead lap, though many of them do not make contact with the back of the field, so they're about half a lap behind us. Bottas is the last car. No, some of them did catch up. Sainz has made contact. So the 9th, 10th, 11th place guys, I think all maybe pit or something along those lines, that saw them behind the front 8, or they were nearly a lap down, whatever the case may have been. They eventually do make contact. So 11 cars are here, but we are quickly pulling away, already over 2 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Let's save our engine life. And that gap grows. Field now basically in 3 bunches. The 2 of us driving away, the chase group from 3rd through 11th position, and then 12th through 19th, the remaining field. And the track, it's getting there. 1.11. It's nearly time, in fact. I think this next lap could be the option to pit. However, once you get under 1, it's not automatic. You need some track grip, and that's not going to be there immediately. Even on the mediums, we are still the fastest as both drivers keep setting one fastest lap after another. Sometimes on the same lap, they each reset it. And this is us on the mediums and everybody else on the softs. Makes no difference. We're still faster than everybody else as somebody has locked up. Again, it's Verstappen. Verstappen with another lockup now. Russell goes through and Verstappen rejoins, but he's still ahead of Leclerc. That's 2 out of the last like 4 or 5 laps. Verstappen has done the same thing. He had enough of an advantage though. It just puts him further behind us, puts him behind his teammate, but that's all. We do something like that, it's a DNF or it's straight to last place. He keeps doing that and getting away with it. Now Russell with the lockup. Russell falls to 5th place. He falls behind his teammate and Leclerc. And it does open the gap even more to the Red Bulls as we're now 30 seconds ahead. Track rubber has never normalized, but it should before the end of the race at least. Another new fastest lap. Porsche hanging out about the same distance behind his teammate though. He's not closing him back down as he had before. Barring any mistakes, it looks like it's going to be a 1-2 with Doohan on top. Russell hasn't quite caught back up to Leclerc. Verstappen, 3rd mistake for him, and not punished at all. Not punished one bit. He was 3rd, he's still 3rd. Russell makes 1 mistake and goes from 3rd to 5th. Verstappen just keeps getting away with mistake after mistake after mistake. Leclerc can't capitalize, though he has made 1 position anyway. And the race is approaching its end. You can see we're at 59%, so those on the softs are really slow now. 45 seconds behind. Gap opening even quicker.
And this will be the last lap coming up.
Do it. Set to lap a couple more cars here. Relapping the field. How far have we made it? Past one of the McLarens. That was Sainz, so 10 cars left on the lead lap. It wasn't that long ago that we had the safety car and had the field bunched back up, but remember, a lot of those guys ended up half a lap behind. Never quite caught up. Is that their first lap down, though? Yes. There it is, Doohan with the win, and Porsche with P2. Verstappen unpunished for 3 mistakes. We see that turn into 20th position all the flipping time for us. For him, not a damn thing happens. A lucky son of a gun.
I don't want to tempt fate, but there are quite a few clouds overhead as we look at the lineup on the grid. Williams here. P1 today. Let's see if they can take advantage of that position. And looking at the second Williams car. After an impressive qualifying performance, they're starting today just behind pole. Everything's been building to this. Here we are at the oldest circuit in Europe for this, the Italian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
And we are racing here in Monza. I suspect that this is going to be the quick, easy one as both drivers start from the head of the field and we have one stopper and it's going to be dry. Do we pull away, though? Our pace wasn't fantastic compared to everybody else in practice, but of course we had very, very used parts and I didn't pay too much attention to what the qualifying times were, but you can see we're already out of DRS range of Norris, so it seems easy enough. we'll have our two drivers battling it out, hopefully not taking each other out and getting some free XP from constant overtakes between the two. But now 2.5 seconds ahead of Norris on lap 5 means we are able to pull away from these guys. Verstappen also pulling away a bit. Everybody else is fairly bunched up. We have a crash here on, I don't know what we're on, maybe lap 12, 13, 11.
That just crashed? Let's take a look
McLaren
at the
involved in this one.
Let's have another look. Science is the focus here.
Is it the Haas getting into the back of him? Yes, it's a lockup.
And that's a big
Gets
smash.
into the back of the McLaren.
They'll have felt that.
Right into the gearbox. Looks like both were able to continue. No DNF. Probably damage to that gearbox, but not terminal. Schumacher with the penalty. I would think you don't need a pit stop if you were the one hit from behind, if you're able to continue. Doohan had the rights to pitting first, but Pourchaire passed him on the last lap. It looks like Doohan might get him back right here down the straight, but we're at the start-finish line, and Pourchaire's in front, so I'm going to open pit options and send him in first. Doohan's going to have to wait a lap.
And box.
Doohan does not overtake Pourchaire, so Pourchaire actually still is at the front. So for now, anyway, he retains those rights to pit first. Again, Doohan close on him, but unable to overtake. Third chance. This time he does get up beside him and does get around him, but it's too late to switch it up now. We've already called for Pourchaire to enter the pits. He would have DRS here after the Parabolica and coming through down the main straight, and would have a good chance of re-overtaking. Well, let's go ahead and set Doohan up for his one and only stop. Pourchaire. 2.517 for his stop. Verstappen runs wide, turn 6. We have dropped to third place. Some of the cars have stayed out. They have not pit yet. But Pourchaire only dropping a single position. Piastri the only one to get by. 4 seconds ahead. 4 seconds ahead. We'll see. What is his pace like now on this lap? I'm not going and doing anything crazy though, but I won't do the same with Doohan. We are starting to close that gap. Is it enough though? Is it enough? Doohan into the pits. Pourchaire has gained about 4/10 of a second. 2.635, 1/10 slower for Doohan. Pourchaire comes out ahead. No, wait. Whoa, that was close. In the braking zone, yes. Pourchaire squeezes past Doohan into P2. Don't want to burn through the tires. It shouldn't be hard. They pass each other quite easily. Still unable to get past. There you go. Nice move into the braking zone. We cut to the inside, and Doohan is passed. Pourchaire.
And a new position.
Pourchaire follows right through.
Williams.
Look how easy that was. Look how easy that was. Pourchaire, no problems. Gasly's 5 seconds behind, so we drove away from him. Will we drive away from Piastri? We got to just about a second away, and then we just about get to a second away, and now we are over a second away. And Pourchaire gets around Doohan. Another crash. Stroll ran wide on turn 5, but I don't think that was the incident. Perez runs wide on turn 5. Was that the incident?
It's a crash, and it's
No,
more than one
it's not.
car. We can take a look
Magnussen.
now. Now watch
Magnussen
this.
picking up a
Here's
penalty.
the moments involving Albon.
And Albon. Poor AlphaTauri having a rough day there. Magnussen started to cook. He was gonna outbrake himself there, and he just clips Albon. Albon was beginning to turn in, and Magnussen just kind of ran straight on through. Clipped his wing with the left rear. And it's lap 46. Dewitt has lost DRS range on Porsche, so Porsche got out of DRS range. However, the tow makes it possible to get back in to DRS range. Will Dewitt succeed in doing so? 1.6 behind. 1.5 behind. Looks like that's not going to be the case, and the race should finish in a 1-2 with Porsche on top. Getting closer. I'm not doing anything to help this out. Let him race. But at 1.035, it's a little too late. He gets within 1 second, but this is the final corner of the race. Porsche claims victory. P2. Another 1-2 finish. 6 rounds remain in the championship, and we have a 50-point lead for Porsche over Dewitt, and 127 from there to Norris, which means they are all but out of range. 50-point gap is going to be pretty hard to overcome, but it's certainly possible. 2 DNFs just like that, and Dewitt's going to be right there neck and neck with Porsche. But right now, championship definitely leading Porsche's way, and for his potential second championship. In the meantime, that Constructors is already wrapped up, I think. Let's see. Yes, it is. It's over. We have won the Constructors already. A minor goal that I've been pushing for a while was to get 100 million in the bank, and we have done so before we head to Singapore. Now 103.9 million. Still no contract for Dewitt. I'm all the way up to 6 million. We left off at 3 million on the offer. Still not interested in signing. He's already going to exceed what Albon was making on the next offer, but I suppose he is second in the championship. That's still a lot less than what most of the drivers are getting paid, I suppose. It's taken 15 million to get over the line with Porsche, but he was making 6.25, so he is about where I left off with Dewitt. And of course, he's multi-years in the car. He has more experience. Dewitt is newer to the team, has not proven himself yet, so for him to be in the ballpark of where Porsche was makes sense with the 6 million. So I think we're close to getting a deal done with Dewitt, but we are done with our deal for Porsche. So Porsche re-signs with the team. He would stay here. Of course, we're not going to be here any longer, but that is a big pay hike. He is going to be making a lot more money. It's well over double what he was making, almost 150% increase. So it's a pretty hefty change. It will make a difference on those finances, but they'll continue to grow. And it's not like we need the money right now towards the end of the game here.
We're here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, and the Singapore Grand Prix is just about to start. The name Singapore means City of Lions, and this weekend Formula One will be roaring into action. It looks like clear weather tonight for this race, with the drivers now just taking position on the grid. Here's Williams. They're in pole position, and they've got to be happy about that. And looking at the second Williams car, they're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds of the race. The race start is mere seconds away. And this is it, the Singapore Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
With a 1-2 start, this should be straightforward. I also underfueled a little bit so we could be fast, and we're going to speed things up. Now, as we start to pull away from Norris, already a second and a half after just one lap, so we are clearly on a quicker pace, especially that little bit lighter here. 3 seconds ahead as we begin lap 3. So second and a half a lap faster. We're going to go softs to hards on this one. Anyway, as we proceed, there's going to be a vote. If you haven't seen it already, there is a vote. There's a link in the description here of the video. And what we are voting on today is what to do with the F1 Manager 23 series. Now, the game could be different in terms of the balancing for the 23 edition. However, I largely suspect that while we have new features, a new development process, a new visor cam, you know, they've made additions to the game. The core of the game should ultimately be the same. Now, the development part will be interesting. Could be better because the development has been very slow. Despite that, we've still found the game to be not the hardest. Definitely not the hardest. It's very different when you're having to come up from F3, grow, develop, and find a way to then transfer into F2, to then transfer into F1. To be a custom team and start from scratch. No matter whether you're Williams or you're Haas or in the F1 Manager 22, Aston Martin, no matter which slow team on the grid you are taking, you're still an F1 team. You might be at the back of the grid, but ultimately you're just overtaking the other cars around you. And that, while it took us a number of years, we are absolutely dominating F1.
Fastest lap.
And once you reach that point, it's pretty hard to come down from that point. If we were to take Red Bull, we would dominate from the first season and forever. If we were to take Mercedes, we would dominate at least by no later than the second season. Maybe by the end of the first season. Pit window entered. It wouldn't take long. The game is a little bit easy. I love a good challenge.
Just had a spin.
You know that if you've seen my other series. I like to make the game extra difficult beyond what it is. Porsche leads, so he's going to pit this lap.
Box, what line?
19 seconds ahead of Mercedes for now. I don't know if they're actually P3 or 4. We have a crash. There is a crash. Will it impact things? Porsche comes out in P4. Leclerc crashed on turn 16.
Okay, here's the Ferrari.
One of those front runners with the mistake. It looks like he was able to continue. Oof.
And that's an off.
Yeah, in real life, that's probably a DNF right there. Probably broken suspension.
The team are devastated.
But it looks like he's just lost the wing, and that's all. If you know the channel, you know that I try to make things even more challenging than the game offers, because I truly like a worst to first challenge. And here, even taking some F2 drivers was not challenging enough. Now, it was certainly challenging at times. We went through so many races where these two former F2 drivers, and because of the slow development rate, that these two made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. And as the car got better and better, and they got competitive with the car under their feet, those mistakes became more and more costly. But we finally hit a stage where we are minimizing those mistakes. And now we're dominating. I want to make it even tougher. I want to make it even tougher on the next edition. So to do that, as we're back into a 1-2 with Porsche up front, lap 18, let's speed things up again. But to do that, it's going to be up to you to decide which format I take on. F2, not challenging enough. It's not. But I'll leave it in as one of the options. Should we take on a fully F2 staff at the end of the first season? Safety car coming out. And we resume racing here on lap 25. Should be pulling away pretty quickly from here. Still have some lift and coast to do, so I will back off once we have a sizable gap over the field. Gasly, Mercedes, still right there in P3. So Ocon, that's a big, costly mistake. They were in position, well positioned for a 3-4 finish, and now find themselves with a DNF for one of their cars anyway. Option 1, F2 only, and build that staff up. That's slightly weaker than what we have here, where we do have some F1 quality staff, and then we have the F2 drivers. I'm talking about across the board. All staff, all drivers would be F2. Now, the second option, the more challenging option, is all F3.
It's a stonking lap.
Taking a full set of F3 staff and drivers, putting them into an F1 car within the completion of the first season, and taking that and trying to make the best team, trying to make this team. Staff without a job, drivers, staff, anyone who is not even in F2 or F3 class. That's a mega challenge. That's probably the ultimate challenge. Or the fourth option, I think personally I'm going to vote on that particular one because it comes with varied difficulty. It really limits the pool, but it also still gives options as we go along, variables that will change it up. You take the non-hired staff, that's your staff, you got to go with them permanently from there. I think I like the last option being all female drivers, female staff, everything across the board, an all female crew. That gives you variety. There hasn't been much in terms of quality. If you look into the database, there's options at every level, but it tends to be F3 or below options, but not always. There's a mixture of talent that's out there that could be hired, that could help. There could be an F2 staff member here. There could be an F and a non-hiree for the second one that you need. There could be an F3 member here. There could be an F3 quality driver, and then not. And then as the database changes, drivers retire. You get in there and you scout others. So I think it could be interesting. It just limits the pool greatly, but there's not F1 quality out there right now. Claire Williams was the only high-end staff member that you had, and I don't think we're going to find a Claire Williams available. But what better team than a Williams, who's still very much at the back of the grid, to have an all-female staff, and if we're lucky, can find a team principal of Claire Williams. Or wait, no, you're the team principal, so that would make it quite easy that Claire Williams leads that team once again. See what she can do. Meanwhile, lap 33, we're pulling away. I like that prospect, but you may not. So we will definitely have a vote on that. That vote is available right now, that poll. You can find that here on the channel or in the link below.
Fuel.
And that will once and for all make the decision on what it is I'm going to do with my F1 Manager 23 series, the added challenge. But what added challenge? In the meantime, it's lap 36, and we are again pulling away. We are getting some variation in who leads, as they are neck and neck, and that DRS helps out. But overtakes are not very easy here at Singapore, so they are semi-infrequent. Fuel, not quite done on the lift and coast, but we have pulled away enough that I think it's time to just go ahead and conserve the rest of the way for both of them. Not just about making it green and getting a positive delta, but conserving the engines for another day, as we will still have 5 races to go after this. Possibly another penalty for either driver at some stage, especially if we take damage. Certainly if we take damage, but what we have now might not quite make it to the end of the season. Gasly is coming back at us here on lap 43. He is on the mediums. We'll have to keep an eye on that gap. Seems to stabilized a bit. Not quite. They're still coming back at us slightly now, 4.5 seconds behind. We might have to turn that engine back up for a rarity here. Plenty in the green. Yeah, inside 4 seconds. You know what? That's too close for my liking. Alright, final 6 laps with a 12-second advantage. We'll go on lift and coast again now until the end of this race. We definitely did not pull away this time, though we did have a pretty healthy gap before the safety car. Here we go again. Safety car is coming out. Safety car is coming out, so that does change this race. It's lap 57, though. It is lap 57. We are not going to pit, though there are going to be a couple laps left, but we're already at the front. I think we could re-overtake if we go onto the softs. We could be in danger if others pit, but I doubt they will. F1 Manager 23 could and should and will have nobody pits except for Sainz.
Multiple cars, I think. Let's see what happened there.
F1 Manager 23 is supposed to have improved AI regarding tire strategy and whatnot, and variable. They will make decisions based on changing circumstances. And we're going to finish under the safety car, so we do not go green again, making me all the more grateful that we did not pit, as we very likely would have come out in 2nd and 3rd position, and we would have given up the race victory as a result. I thought we would have had about 2 laps of green flag racing, but that's it. We end this one under safety car in our closest finish of the season, but it's still a win. That's going to do it for this episode, though. Be sure to join in on that poll and let me know what your thoughts are. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.